Chapter 17. History of Electric Cars. Electric cars of the early 1900s, pioneering a sustainable future. Long before the modern era of electric vehicles, the early 1900s saw the emergence of electric cars as a viable alternative to gasoline-powered vehicles. In an age marked by rapid industrialization and technological innovation, electric cars offered a glimpse into a future where transportation could be cleaner, quieter, and more sustainable. This chapter explores the history and development of electric cars during the early 20th century, highlighting their innovations, challenges, and enduring legacy in the context of today's growing interest in electric mobility. Early pioneers and innovations. The roots of electric cars can be traced back to the late 19th century, with inventors and engineers experimenting with electric propulsion as an alternative to steam and gasoline engines. One of the earliest electric vehicles was developed by Scottish inventor Robert Anderson in the 1830s, followed by significant advancements by Thomas Davenport and others in the decades that followed. However, it was not until the early 20th century that electric cars began to gain traction as a practical mode of transportation. In the early 1900s, electric cars enjoyed a brief but significant period of popularity, particularly among urban dwellers seeking a cleaner and more convenient alternative to horse-drawn carriages and noisy gasoline vehicles. Electric cars were praised for their simplicity, reliability, and ease of operation, making them especially popular among women drivers and city commuters. Technological advancements during this period, such as improved battery technology, electric motors, and charging infrastructure, further fueled the growth of the electric car market. Electric cars offered several advantages over their gasoline counterparts, including smooth acceleration, quiet operation, and zero emissions, making them well-suited for urban environments. Challenges and decline. Despite their early success, electric cars faced several challenges that ultimately led to their decline in the early 20th century. One of the primary limitations of early electric vehicles was their limited range and battery life, which restricted their use to short trips within cities. Additionally, the high cost of electric cars compared to gasoline vehicles, coupled with the lack of charging infrastructure outside urban areas, limited their appeal to a niche market of affluent urbanites. The rise of mass-produced gasoline cars, led by companies such as Ford, further marginalized electric vehicles, as gasoline-powered vehicles offered greater range, affordability, and convenience for consumers. The development of the electric starter motor, which eliminated the need for hand-cranking gasoline engines, also contributed to the decline of electric cars by addressing one of the main drawbacks of gasoline vehicles. By the 1920s, electric cars had largely disappeared from the market, supplanted by gasoline-powered vehicles that offered greater range, power, and versatility. Despite their brief heyday, electric cars of the early 1900s left a lasting legacy as pioneers of sustainable transportation, paving the way for future generations of electric vehicles. Enduring legacy and revival. While electric cars may have faded into obscurity in the early 20th century, their legacy lived on as a symbol of innovation and environmental stewardship. The lessons learned from the early pioneers of electric mobility laid the groundwork for the modern electric vehicle revolution, which has gained momentum in recent years with advancements in battery technology, electric drivetrains, and charging infrastructure. Expanding further on the topic of electric cars in the early 1900s, we can explore the societal factors that influenced their adoption and decline, and examine the legacy they left behind in shaping perceptions of electric mobility. Societal factors influencing adoption and decline. The early 1900s witnessed significant societal changes, including urbanization, industrialization, and the rise of the automobile as a symbol of progress and modernity. Electric cars appealed to urban residents seeking a cleaner and more refined mode of transportation, particularly in congested city centers where noise and pollution were major concerns. However, the limitations of early electric cars, such as their limited range, slow charging times, and high cost, hindered their widespread adoption. Gasoline-powered vehicles offered greater range, power, and versatility, making them more practical for long-distance travel in rural areas. The emergence of mass-produced gasoline cars, led by companies like Ford with the Model T, further marginalized electric vehicles by driving down costs and increasing accessibility. The Model T's affordability and ruggedness made it a ubiquitous presence on American roads, overshadowing electric cars in the mass market. Additionally, advancements in gasoline engine technology, such as the electric starter motor, made gasoline cars easier and more convenient to operate, addressing one of the main drawbacks of early gasoline vehicles. Legacy and influence on electric mobility. Despite their decline in the early 20th century, the electric cars of this era left a lasting legacy that continues to influence perceptions of electric mobility today. The early pioneers of electric vehicles demonstrated the potential of electric propulsion to provide clean, quiet, and reliable transportation, laying the groundwork for future innovations in electric vehicle technology. The resurgence of interest in electric cars in recent years can be seen as a continuation of the vision of the early electric car pioneers, who sought to create a more sustainable and environmentally friendly mode of transportation. Today, electric cars are experiencing a renaissance as advancements in battery technology, electric drivetrains, and charging infrastructure make them increasingly practical and affordable for mainstream consumers. Major automakers are investing billions of dollars in electric vehicle development, signaling a shift towards electrification as a key strategy for reducing emissions and combating climate change. That is why electric cars are experiencing a resurgence in popularity as consumers and governments seek cleaner, greener alternatives to traditional gasoline vehicles. Major automakers, including Tesla, Nissan, and Chevrolet, have introduced electric models with improved range, performance, and affordability, driving the adoption of electric vehicles on a global scale. In addition to technological advancements, growing concerns about climate change, air pollution, and energy security have spurred governments and policymakers to promote the adoption of electric vehicles through incentives, subsidies, and regulations. Electric cars are increasingly seen as a key component of efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and transition to a more sustainable transportation system. In conclusion, the electric cars of the early 1900s may have been overshadowed by gasoline-powered vehicles, but their vision of clean, quiet, and sustainable transportation has endured. By studying the successes and failures of these pioneering electric vehicles, we can gain valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities facing electric mobility today. As we look to the future, the legacy of the early electric car pioneers serves as a reminder of the transformative potential of electric vehicles to create a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable transportation system for generations to come. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share for more content like this.